Good evening, everybody. I extend a very, very warm welcome to all of you, to our esteemed panelists, as well as our distinguished guests. I am Shraddha Kamdar, the Deputy Editor of Femina. Today we are seated here in this beautiful and elegant heritage store for an interesting and exciting panel discussion. It is my pleasure to introduce to you VRK Heritage and Femina Dialogues present Handlooms for Modern Times. We are here to bring focus to aesthetic designs and heritage weaves, and who better than VRK Heritage to do this with us? Over the years, the brand has become the home for the finest silks and exceptional weaves, from classic Kanjivarams to exquisite Patan Patolas, along with Maheshwaris, Bandhej, Ikats, and much, much more. You just look around the store, you look at the store from ground up, and you'll see all of this. I am honored to introduce to you our acclaimed panelists who are here to shed some light on textiles, handlooms, the art of it, and the history of it. We have Prasad Bidapa. Prasad Bidapa is a pioneer in the Indian fashion industry who for the last 4 decades worked towards high-profile events and much more. A textile expert, he has extensively presented shows across the world, in the country, but across the world. If I just keep naming the countries, I will not finish for another 5 minutes. So because of lack of time, I've just chosen United States, Japan, Sweden, and among many others. He works with designers to present the products of India in hand-loomed cotton, wool, silk, and khadi. Welcome, Prasad. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Next, we have Pavithra Muddaya. She is the founder of Vimor, an organization working towards the empowerment of weavers through conservation and design upskilling since 1974. She has revived several iconic designs, and to preserve India's unmatched textile heritage, she has set up the Vimor Museum of Living Textiles here in the city that celebrates non-royal textiles. I've promised her that on my next trip, she's going to give me a tour of the museum. Welcome, Pavithra.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Dr. Hemalatha Jain. Dr. Hemalatha is the founder of Punarjeevana Trust that works towards revival and sustenance of traditional crafts and artisans. Started with just one weaver in North Karnataka, the trust has slowly spread its wings in 8 other states. Dr. Hemalatha has actively helped in reviving over 23 languished handloom weaves, has introduced natural fibers to several tribal weavers and weaves, and continues to do so even in the far-flung states of the Northeast.
Welcome. Thank you so much.
We have with us Ila Naidu. Ila has an educational background in sociology and hospitality sales and marketing, but she has found her passion in fashion. She prides herself on training in the field just to understand the finer nuances of garment design and creation. A style maven and a fashion curator, she believes in expressing oneself through the art of attire. Welcome, Ila. And then we have with us Chaithra Achar. Chaithra is an Indian actress and singer in Kannada cinema. Of course, we know that, right? She was born in this very city of Bengaluru. While still in college, pursuing biotech engineering, Chaithra began her professional acting career with the Kannada web series Bengaluru Queens. Her big screen debut happened with the Kannada film Mahira. Her song, and this is where you need to help me, Chaithra.
Sojugada Suju Mallige.
Thank you. From the film Garuda Gamana Vrishabha Vahana, won her the SEMA Best Actor Award in 2022. Welcome. So I thank all of you in joining us, and I thank all of you for joining us for this interesting panel discussion. Let's open it up. We have a few questions. I have a few questions myself to pose to them, and then we'll throw it open to the audience as well. Handloom for modern times. So each of you has chosen to champion a weave or champion something related to celebrating the legacy of handlooms in very different ways. It could be silk, it could be cotton, it could be linen. Prasad, tell me, how is handloom important in terms of cultural milestones? It could be weddings or events. And how personally did you get involved with this?
I come from NID, and we were very lucky to have people like Popul Jaikar and Kamla Devi Chattopadhyay and Martan Singh, who literally told us at that point in time that one day you will also have to pass the baton on and make sure that you promote it as much as you can. Because you see, India's traditional textiles and heritage weaves are something really special. What we have in India, nobody in the world has anything like it. And if we don't treasure it, it would be a great pity, because it really sings the song of our history. Our history is told in textiles. You know, like the Western world wrote their history down, but in India we did it in song and dance and textiles. And the kind of wealth of textiles we have is so great that if we let it go, we would really be the losers. So I like to tell young people, especially young fashion design students, that if you're going to create a collection, create it out of Indian heritage fabrics, because nobody can copy you then. And if you're going to sit with a weaver or a printer or a dyer or any kind of embroidery that is of an Indian form, you can contribute your own design input into that and create something so unique that it is completely and utterly original. Why go and buy Chinese fabric in a shop and make little black dresses when you can make the little black dress out of a piece of beautiful Karnataka silk or a Benares weave?
Very true.
So I think we also have to create that shift in perception and be proud of what we have. Not just because the British stole most of it and have it hanging at the Albert and Victoria Museum where they've kept all our artifacts. The textile museum over there is one of the finest in the world. And it's all Indian textiles. Fine, keep it. They look after it very well. They have air conditioning that works very well and it's dust-free. So I'm very happy that they look after it. But I think we need to appreciate it more. Because very often I see, including in my own family and among friend circles, people wearing a lot of synthetic fabrics, which can be quite damaging to your health. Because they say that if you wear polyester a lot, your body smells different. You'll actually suffer from body odor if you wear synthetic clothes, which will never happen with khadi and cotton. Because it's natural, and they say that if you wrap a baby in an old khadi sari, the baby will sleep very well, because it's been scientifically proved that, you know, the energy field around a piece of khadi is very positive, whereas around a piece of polyester or nylon, it can actually be very damaging, creating skin disease, you know, creating disharmony in your life, really. So I'm a great batter for handloom and handwoven, but I quickly want to explain the difference between khadi and handloom. I always do that because it gets a bit confusing. When you spin your thread on a charkha, and that thread is taken to a handloom and made into a fabric, that is khadi. when both the process of making the thread, either in cotton, wool or silk, is by hand, and the handloom then weaves the fabric, it's khadi. But all the beautiful saris that you wear are not necessarily khadi. They can be made from machine-made thread, which is also pure cotton or pure silk or pure wool or whatever. But that's the difference. And the other quick difference I want to point out, when you buy a lot of people now, you know, in China are making Kanjivaram, you know that. They've taken our Kanjivaram looms back to China. They've taken our weavers back to China, and they copy everything digitally and they produce it, and then they send it back to Chennai to be sold in the stores. For 500 rupees, I can buy you a Kanjivaram sari that from a distance you will not be able to tell the difference. Now, how do you stop people from buying it? If your house help was getting married or her daughter's getting married and she can get a gorgeous Kanjivaram lookalike for 500 rupees, how can you stop her? She can't afford a 30,000 rupee genuine article. So, those of you who can afford to then have to keep the flag flying. And it's very important that you support the whole aspect of Indian tradition and heritage textiles, because without your support, it will not survive. So whether it's that once a year or twice a year, you come to a beautiful place like VRK, or you go to the market and you buy khadi from the Khadi Bandar or whatever, support it. Because every rupee that you spend on it helps the industry, helps the weaver, helps the dyer, the printer, the embroiderer, the process people. So it's a commitment that each one of you have to make. It's
beautiful. Thank you for that insight. Thank you for that distinction. And thank you for letting us know that some of the saris that we see in the market are made in China. That's a shock. Yeah. But you brought up one very, very interesting point. And Hemalatha, I want to ask you, taking off from there, that there are some immediate threats. We just heard about one, right? That immediate threats to the country's handloom industry. And we've been seeing it's dwindling. We've been seeing that a lot of help has come around even during the COVID period to support the artisans and the handloom weavers. So what do you think, Hemalatha, is the immediate threat to the handloom industry? Are we losing the relevance of handloom to fast fashion?
So basically what's happening is definitely there is a lot of people are looking at quick thing of cheaper prices and things like that. But I also observe one important thing is people are aware now, like the younger children's and college students. There is little awareness which is there, and last few years I am taking workshop and I am also going for awareness programs in schools. I see a little drastic change which is happening, which you don't see it in the age group of 50s and 40s, because they are looking at more of fast fashion.
Yes.
But the children are pushing their parents to do some things like no plastic or go for handloom, because I saw my niece talking about, she didn't know what is a sari or what is handloom, but she's 7-year-old. So her teacher told her on the handloom day you need to do a write-up. So she asked me, what do I write? Then I was talking about, I sent her a video. That's where she had a debate with her teacher when the teacher said handloom is very costly, everyone cannot afford. So she was saying, no, my auntie is saying you can get handloom. And we sell 350 rupees per meter, less than that also.
Oh, lovely.
So there are materials which are available. It's only that people are not aware. People are ready to go. Like we do a lot of bazaar, like ma'am has seen, and sir has also been in a lot of bazaars like 100 Hands or Dastakar or wherever. We all go there, we will talk to them, be very friendly to them. But the next thing is, what is the price? And the next sentence comes is, can I get a best price? Isse to sasta milega bhaiya. That is how it goes. But do we do that in the mall? हम सब्जी वाले से भी बोलते हैं कि कड़ी पत्ता फ्री दे दो. But हम vegetable shop में जाके नहीं बोलते. We don't go in a shop and say, give me curry leaves free. You won't dare to do that.
Yes.
That's what happens in most of the bazaars or wherever you see an artisan. You feel, that's what India is all about. Because when I go back to the documentation, when I worked abroad and we are looking at documentation, we are very bad at it because we feel we are doing things. There is no necessity of writing. As rightly said by Bidapa sir, people do not write about it. Similarly, we have a lot of things, we did not appreciate it. We compare it with other things and say how not good it is. We look at defects. For example, when we are looking at handloom and we are trying to show the fabric, people will try to say, how many defects do you see? I say the defects is the beauty because there is someone sitting there and weaving continuously for at least 3 hours. How you have a mood swing, the man or a female may be having a mood swing. That's where you see a change of the thread which is happening. So that one thread beaten in your weft, there is someone sitting and beating. There is number of hours which are going in. And definitely there is a lot of emotion. That's where, rightly said by him, a fabric, handloom woven fabric, when you wrap a child, there is a lot of warmth and there is a lot of love by someone who is woven it. That's what is the difference. When you drape, when you feel very low, I suggest wear a handloom fabric. You can see a shift in your mood. I did a study with 100 people where I gave handloom and powerloom. So I could see a drastic shift, and there is a psychological study which is there, which shows there is a different change. People going through a lower feeling, people having a lot of negative things going on in their head, it changes the mood like this. Because kotpad, ajrak, when you smell, the cow dung smell takes to you the next level. So that's what happens. So it's myrobalan and cow dung which has a beautiful feeling. So introduction to these things to the younger generation, definitely it's changing the attitude. I don't see a drastic change which will happen now, but definitely there is a change which can be seen in next 10 years. And as rightly said, a lot of people are wearing sari, if for sake of Instagram, but at least they are buying and wearing.
Well, something good.
A lot of people are trying to return, but then we've become more smarter now. We don't take. So that's what is happening now.
But such an interesting insight, because Prasad, you spoke about the physiological changes of wearing synthetic fabric, and Hemalatha, you're speaking of a psychological shift in wearing a handloom. And that's a really powerful insight, because we're not aware. I mean, it might be happening to us, but I don't think I'm aware. So it is even like, even that is an awareness.
Because the study when I conducted, it was post-COVID, because I realized myself.
Okay.
I wear handloom, but then COVID, I was doing a lot of things, and then I was taking workshops. So there would be a point like I was doing like 20 hours workshop online. So there is a point where you feel saturated, and I had my favorite coat part made by this tribal with this cow dung and a myrobalan and hardaka combination. And I'll tell you, that was for a go for shawl for me at that point of time. Beautiful. And that's where I realized when I can feel the difference, I'm sure there are a lot of people, and there is a reality change which is happening. So this same thing, I tried to do it with people who are doing Ayurvedic massage center and things like that. So we tried this neem products and myrobalan, and the sari which I'm wearing is a pomegranate rin dyed. So basically these kind of materials, when used on a daily basis, it adds a lot of positive aura around you unknowingly. A lot of people are saying on Instagram, how do you lock your aura? How do you do things? Wear handloom, everything gets sorted. Thank you.
Beautiful. So we come to the lovely Chaithra, who has her own sari story today. But before we go to your sari story, you've been a sari lover. So, and you represent what we think is the younger generation. What do you think, how do you think we can make handlooms, handloom fabric and woven fabric more relevant to the younger generation when it comes to personal style? How can it become the to-go clothes, so to say?
Firstly, I am privileged to just be sitting amongst them, because when I'm listening to them, I think I'm the receiving end of whatever these people do. So, and like she said, I'm also that Instagram generation where,
We need
post and talk about it. But like you said, I really love, the cultural aspect of wearing such ethnic clothes, and especially when it comes to cotton and, hand-woven clothes and silk, things like that. I'm a sucker for such fashion. And when it, if you ask me what we can do, like at least I, as a person from this generation, I get influenced by a lot of people who wear certain things. So, and since you're always on social media, somewhere or the other, like for example, if I see Prasad sir wearing something, I immediately would want to go and check if he's tagged someone, if he's tagged the brand, if I want to wear something that he wears. It's one thing, it's a fashion statement, yes. Another thing is I want to wear something that person is wearing because he's already a bigger person.
Okay.
So if he is wearing that, the middle class mindset is if I am wearing, I am that person. So, that association it always matters. And I think that influencers or whoever is, in this generation, we should, I think, probably do that more, because let's just agree, to disagree, because these people just are on the social media platforms and get influenced and then keep seeing and checking a lot of things that's been put up on the internet, be it good or bad. So when such works, I mean, if Hemalatha ma'am can put up something and then say, this is my product and this is what it can do, I am sure there are, including me, there are 10 other people who would love that and then influence others to, into wearing something like that. And with that, it will only get better. And now that all these trends, which is, even to at least to look woke or, to sound very concerned with, to the nature or something like that. So it's like, okay, I am also wearing something like that, Yes. With that, it starts from there. Later, they'll get adjusted and they'll accommodate such lifestyles and then they get used to it. But at least to show off, I think this generation can do it. But that's how fast fashion works. So I want to wear something that person is wearing, but I have less money. So what can I do? I'll buy it somewhere where I can get it for 200 rupees.
That's the one we want to try.
But if there are a lot of people who want something like that, and that costs, let's say ma'am does it for some 700 rupees. I don't know the prices. But if they really want it and they're, driven to that thing, they will make sure if they can get the money to buy that 200 rupees t-shirt, I think they'll put in that 500 extra to get something because they want to wear something like that and flaunt it. It's all about showing these days. And I think that is where, that's how we can probably get in our generation to,
harness the power.
Yeah.
People are already doing it to show, but just harness the power then of social media.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting point that Prasad you also brought up is we know that when we talk about silk, it's actually not little, but it is the epitome of slow fashion. Each piece is made by hand. We were just talking about the weave in the afternoon, and some of these pieces take about 8 to 10 months to weave. I know that there is a wait in pattern for a year and a half, minimum, if you want to order a patola. So, but we need to also reiterate what you said, that owning silk is buying less, but buying good. So I would like to ask you, Ila, as a stylist, that do you agree with this? It's buying less but buying good because you're supporting the right ethos, you're supporting the right people?
See, that's definitely a mindset that few have today. Let's just say we are a niche that believes that you would rather buy something that's expensive, taken a long time to make, hand-woven, which is the key thing, which is what handmade, hand-woven, handcrafted. But it is, again, a very, very small, I do believe in that, but it is a very, very small market because like she said, fast fashion, looking good, you go out at least 3 times or 4 times, you want to wear something different, you don't want to repeat. So things like that definitely play a large part in as to why people are not, and I'm coming from a consumer's point of view, are not buying so much handloom or handmade right now. One is because it takes longer, it's more expensive.
Okay.
The cost definitely, and I'm not talking about people who can afford it. I'm talking about the younger generation who are making up a big, big market in today's purchasing, of garments and things like that. I would personally say, yes, buy less, buy better, buy slower, all that. But the other flip side is, why can't we make it slightly, especially today's brands, indie brands, designers. I don't know who's over here who could make a change, but make things slightly more affordable for the your person who's going to shop. How many people can actually do that? Go in. Yes, we will tell ourselves, it's silk, it's the. So I'm just naming that. However, yes, when you come to a store like this and you look at beautiful saris and you look at beautiful garments, and then it costs this much, yes, you're going to wear it for a special occasion, you're wearing it for a wedding, you're wearing it for an engagement, then that justifies it. And most of the time your mommy and daddy are buying it for you. I'm talking about the young generation.
Right, yes.
Yeah, so coming from a consumer's point of view, I think indie brands should start looking at making things slightly more affordable for the general population, for us to start even turning and looking and saying, okay, let's move away from your cheaper, faster fashion brands and start appreciating what handloom India has to offer. Because again, what you pointed out, these are generational techniques passed down from 3-4 generations, 5 generations. And if we are not going to help them keep their craft alive, we are cutting off the next generation from even bothering. They're going to move away from this, and they're going to go and they're going to start working in restaurants or in retail and all that, and they're not going to take up the craft that their parents...
Already happening.
Yeah, it's already happening. So, yeah, that's my 2 pence.
Yeah, I mean, I remember walking in the bylanes of Banaras and looking at the techniques and looking at some of the handlooms and wondering that, oh my God, it's taken 2 hours to build 1 inch of the breadth of the fabric, 1 inch, and to appreciate that. But we have one person right here who is doing what you... First, affordability. That is Hemalatha right here. And I have one question for the expert here who, in one shot of looking at the sari, I thought I inherited it from my Gujarati aunt, so it must be Patan. But I have the expert right here, Pavithra, who told me, oh, it's Pochampalli. And then I have Hemalatha, who told me, it's a mix. So, well, I'm just lucky that this is my inheritance, part of it at least. But here, Pavithra, we are in this beautiful VRK store surrounded by beautiful silk, some of the most amazing weaves in the country made with silk, brocade, chanderi, Mysore, Kanjivaram. I mean, the store is full of Kanjivaram guys. You should check out the ground floor. These are weaving techniques that generations of families have working on them. And they have become more easily wearable today because a lot of designers are trying to attract younger audiences by turning these into pantsuits, quad sets, shirts. So the fabric, of course, is being used, but perhaps the timelessness of a sari is lost. That's what's in my head. So do you think that westernizing these heritage silks is taking it away from its glory, or is it for the better? That's a debate.
Sorry, I don't belong to the generation of Instagram and things like that. But I can tell you that the sari, even if you say we should have other options, which is very great, I think the sari is the only garment that has been in continuous wearable thing or across the world. There is no other garment in the world that has a continuous history like our sari has. Yeah. And what made it continuous? The adaptability, the way that you can style it according to your body, your mood, yes, and the climate. So I think the fact that it is adaptable, and I think if you can celebrate your own persona, then you don't need to ape the West.
Okay.
So you can just wear it whichever way, and I think that's something great to be said about today's generation. You know, they are so rooted and they're celebrating their Indianness, but how they look and wear it in whichever way. It doesn't need to be worn the way I wear it. We can style it in different ways according to you. I think all it needs is a kind of a confidence that this is my persona, this is my choice, and this is my heritage. And Actually, textiles in India are everyone's heritage. You have ownership, I have ownership. So there's nothing that it's only the designer who has the capacity to make a difference.
Beautiful.
The wearer is the most important, because if I don't create a design with the weaver, it'll be something in my creative head.
Oh.
Because I need the hands. They work with the hands, heart, and head.
Yes.
And when you work with your hands, heart, and head, you can create magic. And I think we've a proof that India has always had the highest GDP, that is before the British, only because of textiles. We didn't have any great marketing, but our textiles were just perfect. You know, there was a creative sense to it. There was a sensitivity of what to take from Mother Earth without depleting it. So I think textiles balances everything. You know, like she said, every textile, they pray and then they make it.
Yes.
So it comes with a lot of positive energy, good vibes, things like that. You cannot get it in any other fabric that you press 2 buttons from. So this is something, and I think right now, I think the world is looking at using these big words like sustainability and things like that. But India has always been about sustainability. Every sari that is worn is used till the last thread. You use it for a hammock for a child. You use it for nappies.
Yes.
You use it to make a kaudi. And the last thread of the sari is used to stitch up your clothes or to do embroidery. I mean, you can't get greater examples than in our country. I think we just need to be a little sensitive to what is happening in the rural areas. See, we are so-called educated and sitting in cities. So I think the biggest problem is we are not able to respect what is happening at the village. And I think unless we understand the respect at that level, he's taken all the trouble. And you have to remember that weaving is a pure mathematical thing.
Yes.
You cannot make a single mistake, because then it becomes a defect. And everything woven is woven on the reverse of it. So a weaver doesn't see how he's painting in the front. So you need great technique. Yes. And you can put the biggest scientists to be able to say, decode it. The trouble is we have never decoded his language. It's a generational knowledge that has come down for years. But we have never gone and sat down and say, explain this. And I think the disconnect between the consumer in the city and trying to figure out, I think with respect and integrity, I think we would be a storehouse in the world. So you could wear it Western, you could wear it Indian, you could wear it any which way. That is dictated totally by you and not by anyone else. That's again something that I always have. Why does someone in a Pantone color have to tell me what to wear?
Yes.
Everything is dictated by what someone else decides. God has given us such brilliant colors, and like he says, everywhere you go, that little black dress. I mean, why, when I ask youngsters why they wear it, they said, oh, I look slim. So I can't understand it. They said, oh, I look slimmer. I said, I think it's a perception. Yes. And I think instead of all that, you celebrate your own body, yourself, your persona. And you can inherit and use all the textile culture in our country. Okay, I'm a creator, not a business person. So, and I think I work with empathy with the grassroots level. So till date, we've never sent away any weaver. It's 50 years. But I think the important thing is, what do I do? They have a great skill. They know to weave. But they do not know what the urban audience wants. Okay, like the shade of blue. He has seen the blue in his village, and that's the blue he puts. Sometimes those colors don't really gel with the kind of things that you and me would wear in a city. So I think to bridge that gap, it's very necessary to be able to be the bridge, and I am the bridge. But it has to be at the cost of not putting him down and say, you do not know.
Okay.
You have to work with them to be able to rise them up so that they can be looked at as an artist and not as a wage worker.
Yes, that's beautiful.
May I just take that also?
Absolutely.
You see, we did a project called the Rajasthan Heritage Week.
Yes.
And it was, one of the main things was to introduce the artisans to designers to create a kind of exchange of ideas. Pavithra was one of the designers who worked on it also. And many of the designers mentioned to me of how much they had learned from the weavers and the artisans and the process people. The artisans have a natural antipathy to someone coming and telling them what to do.
Okay.
But if someone handles it with sensitivity, and I think Pavithra now is almost attained status of goddess to the weavers and the craftspeople, they listen to her completely because they know that she's coming from a good place where she's not putting them down but helping them, come into the contemporary market. And we taught many of the artisans to use color forecasts, to use more Western kind of color combinations to make it more popular. And they would. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was the pricing. We say that handlooms are expensive, and you say that handmade textiles are expensive, but in comparison to a Louis Vuitton bag, it's really not expensive at all. So it's a thing of being relative. Like if I went and saw a beautiful Banaras sari hanging at Sabyasachi's shop, and the price was 1,40,000. And the lady I was with me said, it's actually from my studio. I had it woven by a weaver. So I said, oh, and how much did you sell it for? And she said, I sold it for 40,000 rupees. I said, how much did the weaver get for it? She said, 25,000 rupees. So you see, 25,000 rupees to the weaver on a good day. Otherwise, it'll be even lower. And then the shop, the designer marks it up, the shop marks it up. At the end, the customer's paying a very inflated price for it, which says that there's nothing to stop you from going directly to the artisan. In many ways, you can do that. Or there are shops like here where they control the price and they don't make it exorbitant. They make it affordable.
Yes.
And then you have to pay that little bit. And as it comes for arguing, Indians argue about price. It's something that's in our DNA. Kitne pe denge? It's like an anthem. So at Rajasthan, we used to have these signs saying, no bargaining.
Right.
Because the artisans put a fair price on it. And if he wants, and you're buying bulk and he wants to give you a 10% discount, that's his wish. But you can't demand that. And I think that one thing that we all have to stop. Like you said, nobody goes to Louis Vuitton and says, kitne pe denge? Maybe we should try it. They say, no, but apparently if you go to Zara at a certain point, and they have a kind of a internal sale where the prices crash. This is all Instagram learning, by the way. But apparently you can get it cheaper. Not just the year-end sale, it's every single week on a Thursday or something like that.
He's talking about the special prices. So if you go on to Zara website, every week you'll see there's a little thing called special prices. So that's not, you're right.
Anyway, we'll come back to handloom.
No,
I think,
sorry.
I think Hemalatha was trying to make a point earlier.
I was just, because when I started, I was an educator and coming to a journey of social entrepreneur and working with the weavers, I realized is, only thing they ask is you respect the work, whatever they're doing. It's not about how relevant it is in the market. And what I've realized is they don't have all the colors, like what colors we've worked with. They have some colors. Like when I started working in Karnataka village, the first sari which we started, we were doing only red and yellow. They were never exposed to the black because black is little difficult to work. So they were so reluctant. So when we started doing the black and they saw the black moves faster, and anytime we would say, what do we make? They're like, black.
Little black dress, now the little black
So black saris, I realize women has a love for black. How many ever black you have, you want more black. So that's the change. And also we again do, weavers, like what I observed is they would weave, but they would never get to wear what they weave. So there was this small thing which I thought should be done is, whatever you weave, because Diwali and Ramzan, the last day where they celebrate, we always do that of, you can weave your sari and take. I couldn't believe the kind of color palette they made. That was like an amazing thing. One color loom and we got like 40 colors. That was like amazing. So that's where we also, like we always did in the design college of blanket weaving. But this kind of introduction when we started doing with the artisan, there was a huge learning. So that's where I keep telling to my design students also, wherever I take modules is, they have grown, they're born with it. And the mathematics which they do, we cannot match with that. Only that we've got a degree where they don't have a degree. So you're not there to teach them. You're there to observe and learn from them and give them inputs of what moves further. Beautiful. So the only aspect which I feel is there is a mutual respect, and there is about how do you take it forward. They're open to the ideas. They're open about how do you take it forward. They're open about ye nahi chalega. They're open in listening. They are listening to you. And they're okay doing any kind of a change. We came from 45 inches loom to we went to 58. We came down to 24 inches because it's a stole and whatever. They've never done that. So they're open to the ideas. They're ready to put in the hard work. We are working with the finest yarn which they've never worked. We are working with bamboo. We are working with linen. We are working with silk also, which they've never done. But they're open to the idea of because you're respecting them, because they know the work will come in. So it's about being respected. Coming to the price point, we today think about the garment is costlier. Like there are many people, designers, small times, who are taking handloom fabrics and selling in a lot of bazaar. And I've seen people selling from 2,500 to 10,000 rupees. They are able to sell. It's not that they're not able to sell. But it's only that they're not getting that much of exposure like all bigger brands which are getting. And people who are exposed to those kinds of bazaars is very little, the younger generation. Like Okai and a lot of other brands who are opening up the doors for people like us to give that opportunity and also to explore the opportunity. There are opportunities, and you only need to educate a bit and then open your windows of chalo dhoondte hain to zarur ho jayega kuch.
Beautiful. With that, I would love to throw this discussion open to the audience. If any of you have any questions for the panelists, you can just raise your hand. We can pass around a mic.
My question is basically to everyone on the panel. I heard everyone for the first time today. I personally did not have the knowledge that you guys possess. I just want to know, as a millennial or a Gen Z, how can I move towards something, and how can I educate myself more on the importance of being more indigenous, being more sustainable in the sense, but how can I make that active change and move further?
So I will take up this. Basically, I feel that it's not that you have to give up on everything. You wear denim, keep the denim. Probably a change of buying thrice a year. Probably start with that. Probably a simple cotton shirt, which is woven by hand. And if you're aware about the brand, start with that. Don't make a drastic change. Because again, removing everything and throwing away is again unsustainable. So how do you reuse it? Or how do you upcycle it? Slowly start with that. And 3 garments a year is not a big pinch. Slowly you can make a shift. That's what I would suggest. And probably looking up, like you may have your mother's clothes lying around. She's not wearing it. Probably upcycle it. Or try to drape it in a new form. Like I can see a few of them who have draped and come. You can try that. So various ways of doing that.
How can I find more indigenous brands that are actually doing good work?
So there are many, you could check, like we are part of Trade Fair, we are part of Craftmark. So you can actually check. They have a list of names and things like that.
Google will tell you also, don't worry.
Yeah, Google Culture has, but they do not talk about all the brands. So Fair Trade, and these are the people who will give you more detailed list.
What I believe is,
I want to pose the same question to you, since you belong to the millennial generation. Is there something that you have done that, you know, has consciously taken you towards this particular set?
Yeah, I mean, like ma'am said, they're into the production of such materials. But what I, from my end, do is I'm a singer and my forte is folk songs. So I basically do that. So every time you know, that's how it became a trend. Like I started recording these songs for Instagram and then it started reaching a lot of people. But whenever when these, you know, people were speaking about it, I realized every time I've sung a song, if you can go back and check, I've worn a sari. If I've worn a sari, it's my grandmother's.
Okay.
Or it's my mother's, which is from ages, like even before her marriage. So I make it a point to pick only that, maybe because it was just, you know, subconsciously my mind is just going there. I don't know. But if you go back, they're all old saris, which looks new because my mother's, you know, preserving skills they are. But I've gone, you know, if someone asks me, oh my God, such lovely sari, where did you get this from? I said, this is my grandmother's. You know, that is my contribution. So I can feel a little proud of what I'm doing unknowingly.
Okay.
But now that I've listened to all of them who've been contributing to this, I don't think, first of all, I don't know how to bargain. So the next time when I'm buying something, I will definitely not bargain. Because, you know, you will end up tipping someone just like that. And then there's people here who are actually working and they're artists. It's not like, you know, they're just producing things. Each sari is that person's skill. Probably he himself can't reproduce it again. You know, that is because he's thinking a certain way. He's making it out of love. So when he's doing that, and to own that's why, I mean, you can buy random things, you can buy fast fashion stuff, and it can never be auctioned. These things can be auctioned one day, you know. That's why Rolls Royce and everything is expensive and is exclusive only because of that, because it's handmade, handpicked. So I will make that choice, you know, along with you. But yeah,
beautiful.
I would say dip into your mum's wardrobe.
Right.
Dip into your grandma's wardrobe. The saris that you will find over there, you can drape into a skirt, into a trouser, wear it with a little top, a corset. And the internet is like a treasure trove of how to make something look fabulous without actually cutting it. Also, if it need be, you can convert it. Those are the little baby steps. But I say just dip into that your mom's cupboard and their jewelry as well. So it's a lovely combination of the two. And like I love what the lady's done with her sari. Really nice. Yeah.
Can I just put in one bit?
Please.
No, when she says how do you make it easy for the next generation? So they don't have the time to iron, starch, do all those kind of things. True. So when you design, you have to be clear that you have to make it easy for them to be able to do it. So when I did saris, I made saris that you didn't need to starch, you hardly had to iron, and these are kind of things you would have seen Mrs. Gandhi in or Kamala Devi. I mean, they were power dressing women who did not look at the kind of small price points, but there was no maintenance on that. Okay. I can just fold it and I can wear it. I don't need to sit and iron it. But for the next generation, I've been working with a lot of natural different fibers, whether it's jute, banana, all kinds of it. So the new generation wants that novel kind of textile again. So what is our role? Make it easy where there's no maintenance. So in certain things like that, I just vary the structure of the textile, the drape becomes well, and people talk about it. I've done a lot of work with waste, with the broken cocoon waste, what they call ahimsa. So these are little experiments actually so that the weaver will be able to capitalize on a market. Because I don't want him under me. I don't own a loom or I don't own anything. But the idea is you have to be able to show them different options. If you give them different options that can suit his runway, or that can suit her as a young girl, I think that is very important, you know, in the creative process. So it can be a high couture thing, or it could be there. Yeah. So that's where we come in.
Beautiful. So you can, we do ready-to-wear saris with no ironing and starching. So this comes with 2 pallus. You can reverse and wear it on both the sides.
Wow.
So you can try
something new in the ready-to-wear also. Reversible pallu.
Hemalatha spoke about something very interesting when she mentioned respect. And I mean, which one of us don't want that respect in our lives, whichever profession you are in or whatever. But the thing is that we don't respect an artisan, you know, we always see them as something lesser.
Okay.
We don't accord them the same status as a designer. So the designer, we can always lionize, oh, Tarun Tehliani, oh, Rohit Bal. But you never say, oh, Ramkishore Derewala, or you don't say Arvind Chippa or anything like that. Why? Because we ourselves don't promote them the way they should be. Again, at the Heritage Week, when the weaver showed his collection, we insisted that the weaver walk with the designer because they had developed the textile, which the designer had. And some designers actually said, no, we don't want to walk with them. We said, sorry, you don't have a choice.
Correct.
If you don't want to walk, you don't walk, but they will walk at the end of it. And at the end of the day, that one simple thing was a game changer. Because in a lot of the feedback we got, because we interviewed them afterwards, and we said, for you, what was the best part of Heritage Week and all this work that you did in partnership with the designers? And they said, supermodels ke saath ramp mein chalna. But how simple a thing is that? It's like, you want the recognition. They want the recognition, and we have to give it to them.
Yes.
We have to give them that respect and say, you're as good as any designer. Absolutely. Today, there are weavers who I think have achieved a certain status. Some of them have really become, I mean, even when Neeta Ambani, through Swadesh, you know, she wears the sari and then she makes a big
Gujarat
noise
is
about
a very
it.
good
Helps.
example for that.
Very.
So Gujarat is a very good example. Like the
Gujarat,
artisan
yeah.
has come up with their own farm and resort kind of a thing, and you have everything. Like you have experiential, you can go stay there for a week and things like that. So a lot of weavers are doing. To adding on to this, we do not respect our heritage and culture.
Yes.
That's why there are so many issues. We look up to West. We don't look up to our own cultural heritage. That is where we are losing on a lot of things. The minute we'll start respecting our own roots, I think no one has to tell us anything. Things will fall in place.
But I don't see it as an all, as a very bad situation, because today the awareness has never been higher.
Yes.
Today it is so much better. I mean,
Thanks to
in
the
the audience, I think 80% of the ladies are wearing handloom and hand-woven or beautiful block prints or that ilkal sari. I mean, these are just lovely examples of what we have. Everyone on the panel somehow that's dressed
Just
up.
like one more thing to add to Prasad. I think along with the audience and a lot of people participating in this textile cultural revival going forward, I think also a lot of it has to do with a lot of policy and policing. When you ask that the consumer is not educated, we don't have people to police our own safety. Where do we have people to police the kind of quality we have? There are no machines to test what kind of silk you're buying. There is no that. So because of the kind of huge population and policy issues also, I mean, somewhere we are caught. Now, Amazon sells a pure silk sari for 1,600 and we say, wow. So when you know a kg of silk is more, but we never take action on such kind of people. It's the poor weaver who gets caught. He doesn't decide to use polyester, whereas Amazon says put polyester and thing, and we'll sell it as silk. But because he's unlettered, he cannot argue and come back and say, no, I'm just carrying out your order.
Okay, beautiful. Any other questions? Yes.
Hi, I am Priyanka. I'm a co-founder of an organization called Sustainable Fashion Week India.
Beautiful.
So I just want to add about what everybody is talking about. When you say handloom textile, you don't imagine any youngster standing there. So what do you imagine when you say handloom? I just want to ask the judges, who do you imagine? How old, like a person?
Now we are imagining Deepika Padukone in her Banaras sari.
No, just
Alia
generally.
Bhatt wearing her wedding sari again when she got her Padma Bhushan.
But still 40 plus 30s, like never the youngsters like Chaithra.
I wear
So that's what I'm coming to it.
Changing, yeah.
I'm coming to it. So what's happening is the trendsetters, the influencers on the Instagram, so that's where they follow the trend. So youngsters are following the trend, and when I'm very happy that you're wearing it because a lot of youngsters are watching you, and I just want to thank you for that. And
I love wearing it. I mean, it just feels so nice.
that should happen. That change should happen, and also the youngsters should start refusing buying the polyester. fabrics or fast fashion.
Won't
When they
happen
refuse,
in a hurry as long as Zara has two doors open.
Exactly.
yeah,
It
so
won't happen.
we should
But on
educate.
the other hand, Zara now has started getting handloom scarves in
Right,
shops.
So
Yeah,
that's
you
what.
can find one range of it, which are gamchas and quite beautiful hand-woven pieces.
See, earlier we
Should be
had only
thankful
Fab
for that.
India, but there is a shift and there are a lot
Right,
of
all of them,
brands
all the
coming
brands
in for
are
Also,
getting
so
sustainable.
many designers
brands,
making,
yeah.
indie brands making different garments.
Yeah, that's what the youngsters should refuse polyester. That's what I'm saying. They just, when they refuse, the demand comes down and the production
Well,
comes down.
You know, in many ways, we have to also coexist with polyester and synthetic, because if I'm given an assignment to design clothes for a hospital staff, I can't make it in khadi or handloom. I have to go after Chinese fabrics that can be boiled at 100 degrees centigrade to
So
sterilize
I'm talking
it.
about she asked the question for the youngsters. So just the
Defense
fashion.
uniforms,
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
There is
See, the
Yeah, certain fields definitely
the
need.
choice here is, it's like, can I eat burger or should I eat homemade food? That's how it is.
Yeah,
it's
that's
a
right.
choice which everyone has to make. So when they'll see the repercussions.
Also, I think we're not fighting polyester.
Yeah,
and we're
but
not
we're just
fighting
learning how to
synthetics.
coexist. I think
Yeah.
our takeaway
We
here
have
is
to coexist. We cannot
coexist.
not.
Now
You
then make
cannot fight
Even for-
polyester, because where will all those people go jobless? Now we have a big
No, more
powerloom lobby. Okay, they churn out so much. Okay, the handloom thing is put in with the powerloom and sold as handloom.
Okay.
So naturally, it's bargainable product for the handloom weaver. But like he says, what do? We can't take so many people out of employment.
Yeah.
So what do we do with this entire powerloom sector? What do we do?
This thing, the slow change has to happen.
No,
it can't
basically,
come over
the
sudden.
amount of cotton growth or the jute production, if you look at it, that cannot balance otherwise also. There has to be some way of recycling or things which will come into the play, which will happen slowly and steadily. It's not going to happen overnight.
Slowly and
Might be
steadily.
surprised to know that polyester is now considered sustainable because you can do something else with it.
Yes,
So
but-
now they're collecting plastic out of ocean waste because the ocean is full of plastic
Making
parts.
sneakers out of it now.
They're making fiber out of
they're
it.
making jeans.
When Abraham and Thakur 2 years ago did a whole collection made with fabric, it actually looks like Georgette. You know, I mean, there's nothing you
Yes,
recycle.
there is recycled fabric.
There's place for everything in this world.
Correct.
All we're saying is don't forget what we have.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, all the French designers
value
like
it, yeah.
Dior and Gaultier and everyone have been using Indian silk and
For
Indian
ages.
handloom, Indian embroidery for decades. Dior especially.
Yeah.
But it took them 30 years to
Acknowledge
acknowledge
it. I know.
And to do that one fashion show in Bombay to celebrate whatever they wanted to
and everyone
celebrate.
has been doing it for donkeys years.
Yeah, they've been doing it for years. Our designers also have to learn to do that, to take the Indian textile, the Indian technique, make a global product. And it will survive because there are enough people in this huge world to keep us, you know, supported and sustained in our sort of textile arts.
Beautiful. So, our takeaway in this on as a closing note, this beautiful discussion is respect for the artisans, celebrate our own heritage and culture, try to invest in handloom fabrics only as often as you can. It's okay if the frequency isn't that much, and learn to coexist. So, on that note, I would love to thank this lovely panel for being here, for sharing insights, some of which were really shocking. They weren't even insights, or big shockers. But thank you, each and every one of you, for making the time, for being here, and for talking to us so freely. Thank you for a wonderful afternoon. Thank you very much for being